Hi, I'm Shannon Nelson. With me today, documentary filmmaker Maria LeRose. I'm inclined to refer to Maria LeRose as one of my mentors, since it was Maria who hired me and trained me for my first job in television. Since then, she's been busy making documentaries and moderating events with some very impressive dignitaries. Welcome, Maria.
Thank you.
It's been a while.
Well, it has, and in fact, the first time you ever were on television, I believe I was there with you.
Yes, you were there with me, and actually, it's interesting that the roles have kind of reversed, because didn't you actually interview me for that job?
Yes, that's right.
All right.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, remember I cried?
In the audition, I made you cry.
Yeah.
It's Barbara Walters all over again.
Oh, you're so good. Well, we should tell people who are listening now that we actually did a show together. We are going to talk a little bit about that, but I thought it was kind of funny because I'm kind of nervous because you're the one who taught me how to interview and mostly how to keep my mouth shut, if I recall.
Right. That was kind of my recollection as well. Mind you, if you recall, there were three of us,
Yes.
the company of women, and I know we'll get there. But all three of us had to kind of all learn to keep our mouths shut because it was just so much fun.
Well, and it was a balancing act because when you've got three people in the room talking to one guest, that's...
Poor guest.
I did feel that way sometimes, didn't you?
Yeah.
I've had a couple of them on this show, and they're all like, oh, is it just you?
Yeah, where are your friends?
Anyway, so, Maria, what
Here we
about
are.
you?
What about me?
That's right. What you been doing since, let's say?
Well, I've been doing television, primarily television, and as you know, at that time, one of the co-creators of that series was Sharon Bartlett, who has been my business partner for coming up to 20 years.
Yeah, that's a long
Yeah,
time.
yeah, and so she and I have continued since then to produce television and mostly documentaries for the CBC. We've done a lot of Life and Times documentaries, as well as a series for Knowledge Network recently on children and youth and mental health. And, but I always carry on my own on the side as well. I do a lot of live event facilitating, and as you know, I think I moderated a dialogue with the Dalai Lama last summer, for example.
Let's talk about the moderating the Dalai Lama thing, because that's, first of all, a great honor. I mean, I would love to sort of brush shoulders or elbows with him. How did that happen?
Well, first of all, the topic of discussion was educating the heart with the Dalai Lama, and really that was inviting experts from all over North America, world experts, who knew about how do we, in a scientific way, actually talk to children and work with children in a way as parents and as educators that actually educates them socially and emotionally. And that's a subject that I'm really interested in. And in fact, I'm back at grad school now looking at that subject. So as a subject, it was interesting to me. And then because I've done a lot of live moderating, somebody in the organizing committee put it together and decided that I should be the one who was moderating this discussion. And that meant bringing His Holiness the Dalai Lama together with these world experts and allowing them to have a dialogue about how do you educate the heart. And this is something that the Dalai Lama is really interested in right now. When he was here last time, a few years ago, they were talking about the importance of educating the heart. And when the event was over, he was going to the airport and he said to Victor Chan, I get it now that it's important to educate the heart. I mean, I suppose I've always gotten it, but what I want to know is how do you educate the heart? Yeah. So it was really kind of an authentic, exciting conversation. So I was asked to be a part of it, and as is my style, I just say, oh sure, I'll do it. Usually minutes before I go on, I'm saying, why did I say I would do it? I don't know what I'm doing, but I always say yes.
Well, that's a pretty important position to be in.
Yes.
But you're a good moderator. I know.
Thank you.
I've read that, and we've certainly been in the fray ourselves a few times. So were you nervous about that?
I wasn't nervous until the night before, because the other thing I did all summer was I worked with the young people who were going to have the first ever youth dialogue with the Dalai Lama. And so these were young people, ages 13 to 17, who came from nowhere, hadn't thought much about compassion, which was their topic. So we spent the summer teaching a moderator, coaching the MCs, helping them write their script. So my heart really was with them. Yeah. So the night before the rehearsal was their rehearsal, and I was, as if I was their mother, was very nervous for them. And then I got up to stand in front of the microphone and thought, oh yes, I'm doing a little something tomorrow as well. And at that moment I thought, I've been thinking so much about them, I haven't really thought about this, which might have been a good thing. So there was a moment then that I thought, what was I thinking? But you know something, I woke up the next day, this is going to sound so hokey. And I was driving over the Second Narrows Bridge to come into town, and I looked over to the left, and there was the sun, I guess, that's what that orb is in the sky?
That's it.
Yes, red. It was bright red, and the Dalai Lama's robes are all that kind of red, and,
Yeah.
and I just something, and I was listening to some sappy music, probably, which I do, and something in all of that made me think, this isn't about you. This really isn't about you, so get over yourself and just really enjoy yourself. And as soon as I got there and saw the butterflies of the young people, I really got over myself and loved every minute of it.
So you met the Dalai Lama.
I did, yes.
And?
I was surprised. I had heard, I actually hadn't read a lot about the Dalai Lama prior to the beginning of this summer and last summer. But I obviously immersed myself into his work to prepare for this, and I was really coming to appreciate what he had to say about, in particular, about compassion. But I'd heard that when you're in his presence, there's something special. But I really didn't know what to expect. But truly, this is a magical person. And even, you know, my business partner, Sharon, who I mentioned a minute ago, she was in the back helping with the control room. And even when he just walked by, she said, you feel something. And it must have something, it has, I actually am reluctant to say what it has to do with, but here's my simplistic understanding of it. You know, there's science that says people who meditate actually create an aura around themselves, that they are different from us in terms of their brain chemistry. And that's really, you look into his eyes, you feel good. You feel good. You feel like smiling. You'd like it.
So did it change you?
Yes, the whole experience changed me. After the event, I interviewed about a month later all of those young people about the whole event, because I was curious about what changed you. They'd all said something changed. Was it meeting the Dalai Lama? Was it talking about compassion all summer? And I think 201, it was all of those things. And so for me, yes, I was changed by all of the reading that I did, interacting with those young people as they discovered compassion within themselves, and then ultimately meeting him absolutely changed me. And I think listening to him, I'm asking myself a lot more, is that a compassionate response? Because a compassionate response, it's one thing to have empathy, but it's another thing to actually respond in a way that is empathic. So especially people who really bug me, I now say, what would be my compassionate response to that person? And I don't always do it, but listening to him, it actually helped me think about that a little bit more.
So as I recall, you come from a good Italian Catholic family.
Yeah.
Has that changed? Not that you come from it, but your feelings around Catholicism.
Yeah, I was raised Catholic and Italian, yeah, and my mom was Scottish, but my dad was Italian, and that was the culture that won out, because it was a big culture. And I must say, as a young person, I was very devout, especially 9, 10, 11 years old. I went to church by myself every morning with me and all the old women in the church. And there was something about that at that time in my life that, again, it just felt good. It made me smile inside, you know?
Yeah.
And when I went off to university, things started to change. I stopped going to church quite so often. And at some point I decided I was not going to be a part of the Catholic Church anymore, and that my children would in fact be baptized in Anglican, which was my husband's religion. And I feel comfortable with that. But it is interesting that this experience, say with the Dalai Lama or other sort of spiritual experiences that I have, they feel the same as when I was a little girl with the candles lit in the church. So whatever was planted in my heart, some people call it God, you know, is very much still there, and it's what I feel in the best moments of my life. So that I'm so glad I had that early opportunity to bring that into my heart. Yeah.